So hey guys, this is your favorite fictional vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto had the legacy of Dragon of Hell and became a devil. But before we start, remember to subscribe and like this video. Now let's start. Since time immemorial, two powers warred against each other. On one side the angels who served God in all his absolute glory, while on the other the devils who served the four great Satans. For thousands of years the two sides fought until a new power emerged, the fallen angels, those who fell from God's graces. If the war between just the angels and devils were bad, with the addition of the fallen angels it got worse. The angels led by the biblical God, the devils led by the four great Satans, and the organization of fallen angels called Grigori led by Azazel fought in what will be known in the future as the Great War. After millennia of battling, the war eventually ended with no one as its real victor. All sides lost a great amount of their members, including the leaders of the angel and devil faction, the God of the Bible and the four great Satans, were dead. The aftermath of the war left the three sides in conflict, but the toll that the war took on all three sides prevented them from battling once again. It would have been a good time for a treaty to be formed, but the state of mind and aggression on between the three factions prevented it from happening. There was no real peace between the factions, yet no major conflicts occurred as well. There stood two figures in the middle of a scarred battlefield. The earth was cracked. Lava was seeping out of the ground. The sky was dark with the roars of thunder and flashes of lightning. The wind carried a feeling of death and dread, but most of all, the presence of the two figures was suffocating even to those who were considered powerful. They stood there ready to clash again for what seems to be an eternity, the epitomes of the power of the devils. One of the figures, a man with long white hair that went to his waist, made the first move. The man jumped to the sky. "Anselm," the man said as he fired off hundreds if not thousands of magical arrows, all aimed for the weakest point of the enemy's body. "Dispel bound," his opponent said. It was a teen with blonde hair holding a katana in his left hand as he extended his right hand forward and formed a protective shield around him, deflecting the arrows of magic. The man then jumped back to avoid an oncoming axe kick coming from his formerly airborne enemy. Mid-air the blonde pointed his right arm at the man. Strange symbols and glyphs began surrounding it as he unleashed one of his more powerful spells. "Senpo." "Halloween," the blonde teen said as he unleashed a gigantic beam of energy from his palm, sending it towards the other man who was smirking. "Halloween," the man screamed out, as he fired off a beam of energy using both hands to counter and slightly overpower the blonde's attack. He smirked as he further pushed forward, pouring more and more power as his beam pierced the blonde's own. The beam hit the blonde and engulfed him in a bright white light as the light disappeared. Not a trace of the teen was left on the scene. "Is that it?" the white-haired man said cockily, but deep inside he knew better. His rival won't go down that easily. The man's senses kicked in as he jumped away from the spot he was standing on just in time to evade a gigantic sword covered in black flames impaling the spot. The white-haired man immediately summoned a sword in his hand just in time to block his enemy's attack. "Never thought I'd use this again," the man said as he increased his sword's flames, increasing its temperature to almost 20,000 Celsius. His opponent didn't say anything but just pushed forward, black fire matching the intensity of his own flames. "You know, if one of the two of us joins the other's peerage we'd be unstoppable," the white-haired man said, trying to distract his opponent as he began chanting for another spell. "But again, you're not a hot chick with big boobs, and only hot girls, with the exception of my allies, can join my peerage," the man's aide as he was about to fire off a spell but was interrupted when the blonde loosened his grip on his sword, making the white-haired man lean in forward as he pushed back the blonde teen slightly. The Londa grinned as a small black spiraling sphere appeared in his free hand. "Crap," the white-haired man said as the sphere met his abdomen. Boom. The man was sent flying back due to the intensity of the attack. The only thing left was the man's head. The blonde smiled as he walked towards the severed head. "That fucking hurts," the head said as he looked at the blonde. "Giving up?" the man asked as he looked at it, waiting for a reply. "Hell number, I'm not giving up," the man said as his body began reforming, and in a matter of seconds he was fully healed, standing in front of the blonde in all his naked glory. Mind putting something on?" the blonde asked as he looked at the naked man. "Got something better," the man said as he grinned madly. He was suddenly covered in black armor like dragon scales that surrounded his arms, torso and legs. From his back grew a dragon-like tail as 4 demonic wings grew from his back. Majin, the blonde muttered as he felt the increase in his opponent's power. Ready? The man asked, looking at the smirking blonde who sheathed his blade. Well, this means I don't have to hold back as well. Nanjati Nanajinta Noem Katinas 999 Cha. Ins, the man said as 999 chains suddenly appeared. Each and every chain was wrapped around all over his body. Solutum AC unchained, the blonde said as each chain began to shatter, increasing his power tremendously, easily matching his adversary. The team suddenly disappeared with a burst of speed and reappeared in the blind side of the white-haired man, punching him in the face and sending him flying down to the ground. But before the man could even hit the ground, the blonde reappeared in front of him and kneed him to the gut. The blonde then followed up by drawing his S-word and slashing it horizontally towards the white-haired Majin. The man just let out a loud laugh as he caught the blade with one hand and pulled it towards himself as he threw a punch which connected to the blonde's face, sending the man staggering back. Seeing this as an opening, the white-haired man charged in and kicking the blonde in the ribs, before punching him in the gut, then sending an upper cut which hit the man in the chin and sent him flying in the air. The man was then extending both of his arms, aimed at the airborne blonde. Black Sabbath, he screamed out as he fired what can be described as a magical nuke at the blonde. The blonde saw this attack coming and held onto his blade tightly as magical symbols appeared all around it in a drill-like pattern. He then swung his blade towards the attack and released a dark burst of energy that was said to have enough power to destroy the world itself. The two attacks met each other, covering the area with a bright light as it was torn asunder. The two stood again facing each other, the battlefield worse than it was before. Why are we fighting again? The white-haired man asked as he looked at his blonde adversary. You know, we've been fighting for days, or was it months now? I actually forgot, the blonde said as he started thinking about it. Wait, I think it was something about becoming the 5th something or whatever and ruling that city we liberated from that golden armored douche. Ah, the white-haired man said comically. So, ready to finish this? The blonde asked as held his blade with both hands. The white-haired man just smirked as the two clashed once more. City of Babylon. The Golden City of Babylon was located in a neutral territory between the Devil and the Fallen Angels region. It is a city known for the amount of treasures it holds and the high quality of the metallic materials mineable in this location, making it one of the most sought-after territories in the whole underworld. Thiel no mat. How many attempts of taking it due to the presence of its king, or at least former king, who has recently been replaced by an extremely powerful devil. Currently the 4 great Satans along with our families and friends have arrived to this beautiful city because of a sudden occurrence that required their immediate attention. That in a sort of pseudo-vacation for the family, since Babylon is on of the best places to relax in the underworld. However, 2 young girls that looked like they were around 8 or 9 were running around holding each other's hands, obviously lost in this magnificent city made of gold. The first of the 2 had long crimson hair that went to her back. She has loose bangs covering her forehead and bangs framing her face. She also had a single antenna-like strand of hair sticking out from the top of her head. The second child was a girl with long black hair tied into a ponytail that went down to her back. Oh, and let's not forget that the 2 were pretty well endowed for their age. Given a few more years, the 2 would be drop-dead gorgeous. I'm sorry Akano-chan, it seems we're lost. The redhead said, earning a small chuckle from her companion. The redhead said in a thinking pause. I can call Oni-san, but he said he was going to be in a meeting today, so I can't really do that. Akano-chan, what do you think should we do? She asked her friend. Maybe we should ask someone for directions, was the Ravenette's reply. But we're in the middle of nowhere and no one's here, was the redhead's reply as she looked around, seeing that they were, in fact, in the middle of nowhere. They knew they were still inside Babylon because of the gold all over the area, but the grand buildings were long gone and the 2 found themselves in what looked like a small clearing surrounded by golden trees. Howl, the 2 heard as they suddenly felt goosebumps. I think we should keep moving, the Ravenette said, earning a nod from the redhead as the 2 started to run again. Unknown to the two of them, they stumbled upon one of the infamous training grounds of the king of Babylon. King's Palace. Inside a well-lit and decorated and spacious room in the palace of the king was a round table. It was an ordinary table made up of gold, but what's special about this table are the 4 individuals seated around it. The first C. Ted was a lazy-looking young man with green hair. His laziness was really apparent because if one would look closely they'd actually see that the man was pretending to be awake. However, despite the man's lazy and laid-back attitude, he is feared among the underworld for his strength and incredible strategic capabilities. He is known as the current Asmodeus. Falbius Glaciolabilas, one of the 4 great Satans who was in charge of the military affairs in the underworld. Seated to his left was a handsome young man with blonde hair. The man sent out a mysterious aura which makes him feel and look more devilish. The man is known as the current Beelzebub. Ajuka Astaroth, one of the 4 Satans and in charge of the underworld's technology department. He is a genius and was also the creator of the evil peace system that allowed devils to increase their ranks by turning beings of other races into devils. To this man's left was a rather weird girl who had a childlike body and was wearing a magical girl outfit, who looked like she didn't belong to a table with the other high-ranking demons. However, the girl with beautiful long black hair tied into twin ponytails with violet eyes did in fact earn her spot at the table. She was the current Leviathan, Seraphal Citri, a powerful devil whose power is often overshadowed by her tendencies to prance around calling herself a magical girl as well as acting childish. Finally, the last person at the table was a handsome young man who looked like he was in his early 20s. The man had crimson red hair and blue-green eyes. This man was the current Lucifer, Sirzex Grimori, also known as the Crimson Satan and the leader of the 4 great Satan. He is the current ruler of the underworld and right now he was starting to get a bit impatient. Where is he anyway? Sirzex asked for God knows how many times already as he looked at the 2 figures standing a few feet behind the empty 5th chair. Where exactly is he? Ajuka asked a while writing down some notes for a new project he was working on. He is currently in the Forest of Death, replied the other girl who has black hair that went down to her back. Her bangs covered her forehead with side bangs framing her face. She was wearing a white tank top under a black jacket hiding her modest yet wonderful C-cup and black jeans that showed off her tight buttocks. Wow, O-chan must be pretty brave to go there, said the Leviathan. Do you mean that forest? The one where only 1 out of 1.000.000 devils make it out alive? Replied Asmodeus, the current conversation forcing him to wake up. Yes, he has spent most of his time there, meditating or relaxing, the redhead replied as if it was the most casual thing to do. Mendokusai, the Asmodeus said, acting like most of the members of a CER Toin long extinct clan before going back to sleep. Well, we could keep waiting for a few more hours, it's not like we have anything better to do, Ajuka said as he continued writing down some new formulas. But I want to go I want to play with Rias-chan and Milika's Sirzex said. Speaking of Rias-chan, I heard from Sona-chan that she finally has the first member of her peerage. It is true, Sirzex-chan? Seraphal asked. Yes, she recently made a friend, Akano Himahima. Rias-chan made Akano her queen, Sirzex replied happily. Where are they anyway? Ajuka asked as he stopped writing down his notes for a second. I don't know, but I'm sure wherever they are, they're having fun, Sirzex said with a huge smile on his face. Forest of Death. Two girls screamed in unison as they ran for their lives. They've been on the run for the past half an hour as they were being chased by a gigantic tiger who for some reason breathed golden fire. King's Palace. Yep, having fun, Sirzex said. So how's Sona-chan doing? Sirzex asked, changing the conversation. Yeah, Sona-chan is doing great, she's super doper but growing into a party poop. The Leviathan replied, pouting near the end. Sirzex looked at the time. Well, since he's not here yet, we might as well begin talking about Kuo Academy, he said, getting the attention of all 4 devils. Forest of Death. A blonde teen was sitting on top of a rock in the middle of a clearing within the forest meditating. Huh, the blonde said as he opened his eyes. He heard the scream again as he looked at the direction from where the voice came from and saw a flash of crimson hair. He saw another girl with black hair being cornered by one of the tigers that live in this forest. What the hell is going on? He said as he crouched down before jumping high up in the air, destroying the rock he was meditating on. Rias was shaking and crying as she found herself behind an injured Akeno, her first and best friend, her queen, who was standing between her and the beast that was chasing after them. Akeno gulped as she tried her best to fend off the beast. She fired shot after shot of lightning only for the beast to shrug it off before pawing at her and further injuring Akeno, as if it was playing with its prey. Akeno-chan, Rias said with flowing tears. She didn't want to see her best friend die. She wanted to get stronger. She wanted to be like her Oni-san and beat this beast so she can protect her friend. Rias, Akeno said weakly, I'll try to put all my power in one blast. Use that opening to run, okay? But, no buts. Rias-chan. Even though we've only been friends for a while. Thank you, Akeno said as she fired a powerful bolt of lightning, which to her shock was still shrugged off. Her saw her body slump down in exhaustion and decided that it was the best time to finish off its prey. The tiger jumped in, mouth open, ready to take a bite out of its meal. Seeing what was about to happen, Rias closed her eyes as she pushed her friend away. She was expecting pain. She was expecting death. What she expected never came. As she opened her eyes, she saw Akeno blushing madly as she stared at something standing behind her. Rias turned around and couldn't help but blush at what she saw as well. It was a man in his early 20s with spiky blonde hair. His right eye was blue while his left was covered by a black eye patch with strange markings engraved all over it. He was shirtless, only revealing his well-toned and muscular body. He was wearing a few chain necklaces and two opera-style gloves that went to his shoulders. The gloves themselves were black, wrapped in studded white and red leather straps with some chains wrapped around the wrist areas. He was also wearing two silver rings with a blue-green gem in it. The man was also wearing black leather pants, paired with a brown belt with a silver buckle that has the symbol of a nine-tailed fox. Finally, the man was wearing a pair of black shoes that perfectly fit his attire. Aside from the obvious, heart-rob appearance, what shocked the two girls the most was how the blonde was holding the gigantic tiger back with one finger. Oh my, what are two beautiful ladies doing in my garden? The man asked as he flicked the tiger, sending it away flying. The two blushed even more at the man's compliment as the two felt a strange hot sensation ran over them. There was also a voice appearing in their minds, screaming at them to obey whatever this man says, and telling them that this man was an alpha. A devil above all the others, the like that even makes Rias' brother pale in comparison. Hello, He-Man said as he waved his hands in front of the two dazed girls. Ah, Rias said as she snapped out of her thoughts because of the man's words. We don't know, we were playing around the palace and me and Akeno-chan went to explore. But we ended up in this creepy forest place. I see, the man said as he looked at the other girl. Akeno-chan, right, the blonde said as he kneeled down and looked at the girl. Hi, she said as she kept staring at the man. You look like you're pretty beaten up, the man said as his rings suddenly began to glow. A few seconds later, Akeno's eyes widened as she felt all the pain disappear. She looked down at her body and found that all her wounds were already healed. You did a good job protecting your friend, the man said as he placed his hand on the young queen's head and began rubbing it. Keep doing that and you'll get really strong in the future, the man said, smiling before looking at the crimson-haired girl. You did well, too, he said as he placed his other hand on her head and rubbed it as well. Knowing that you were about to lose a friend, you selflessly sacrificed yourself for her. That requires real bravery to do, but next time, think about things before doing it. If you would have died, I'm sure that Akeno-chan here would be sad, the man said gently as the two girls nodded and felt more admiration towards the man. The man then stood up and extended both of his hands towards the two girls, would you two ladies mind if I accompany you out of this forest? The man said, smiling, earning a giggle from the two girls. Hoo tilde, with pleasure, Akano replied. Rias, however, just kept staring at the man. Onyo Oni-san, Rias said, getting the man's attention. You're pretty strong. If it's possible, would you like to join my peerage? She asked nervously. The man looked at her before chuckling, making the girl pout. I'll think about it, the man said to the still pouting girl, who began using that damnable puppy eye technique to try and make him fold. Shit, 900 plus years of life and I can't help but be a sucker for that face, the man thought as he internally face-palmed. I can't really join your peerage, but if you two want to get stronger, I'll gladly teach you how to defend yourselves and use your powers. Yes, Rias said as she glomped the man. Thank you, thank you, she said, wanting to get stronger so she won't have to see her friend hurt like that again. Thank you for the offer, mister, Akano said, bowing a bit, expecting the man to introduce himself. You can call me Naruto, the man said as he suddenly stopped. Old, you two care to introduce yourself as well? The man asked as he looked at the two girls. Akano Himahima, the black-haired girl said happily as she smiled at the man. Rias Gramori, the redhead said while looking at the man. Akano Himahima and Rias Gramori, truly pretty names, the blonde said as the two blushed. And thus a crush was born. I'm just a bit curious, but would you two happen to know what the time or date it is? Quote, it's around 1600, replied Akano. Ah crap, the man said as he grabbed the two girls by their hands, causing them to blush. Hold on, was the only thing the blonde said before he disappeared in a burst of speed, dragging along the two girls back to the palace. King's Palace. And that concludes the meeting about Kuo Academy, Sirzex said. As he looked around, anyone want to add any? He was cut off by the sound of the doors suddenly slamming open. Objection, the voice said, making everyone in the room look at the door. There stood the blonde man who just kicked the door open, holding an unconscious and dizzy Rias in his left hand, while holding a barely conscious Akano in the other. Well, I told you they were having fun, Sirzex said happily as he looked at Ajuka. Yet they were having fun in the forest of death, being chased around by one of the tigers, Naruto said as one of the girls from earlier, the one with black hair, took the unconscious kids from his hands. What? Sirzex shouted as he stood up and instantaneously teleported in front of the blonde. Tell me what happened. Well, I saw the two of them in the forest. Looks like they were lost or something. Gotta tell you, Zex, you need to fire whoever it was you asked to watch over them. The red-haired devil just face-palmed. Stupid Beowulf, you're going to pay for this, he said, making said man who was currently looking for the two girls to suddenly shiver in fear. Hi-Oh-chan tilde, Leviathan said as she glomped the blonde. Hey there, Sarah Tan tilde, the man sighed. As he hugged back before breaking the hug. He then looked at the other two men seated on the table. No hugs from you guys? He asked. No, the two said in unison. Naruto just laughed as he, Sarah, and Zex made their way back to their seats. You're late, the red-headed woman standing behind the blonde's seat said. Sorry, got a little bit distracted, I'll expect the punishment tonight, he said. As he winked at the girl, making her blush. He then looked at the four others at the table. So what did the four great Satans call this meeting for? The man asked. As frank as ever, Sirzex replied as he looked seriously at Naruto. After much deliberation, the four great Satans has decided to bestow upon you, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the title of the fifth great Satan, Apollyon, Sirzex said. Proudly as he and the other Satans looked at a wide-eyed Naruto. Well, that's cool, what else did I miss then? The blonde replied immediately, as if they didn't just give him the title of being one of the most powerful beings in the entire underworld. Thud. Naruto just watched as almost all the demons except Seraphol, who was laughing, planted their faces on their desks. I'm regretting this Decies. Ion already, Sirzex thought as he repeatedly slammed his own face into the desk. The fifth time skip. Kuo Academy. It has been a few years since the event at the Golden Capital, and it was good to say that the blonde man kept his promise, with some difficulty since Sirzex wanted none of it, and it took a loving talk from his wife, beating cough, to convince him into saying yes. The man, who the two later found out was apparently the newly instated 5th girls hard to the bone. He made sure that the two understood the meaning of pain and hard work as he constantly made their lives a living hell. One would think that this would destroy their small crush on the man, but it had the opposite effect. It made their infatuation towards the man grow to greater lengths. Truly, love at first sight. However, it came to an abrupt end when their teacher and crush, Naruto, officially graduated the two of them from his training a few months back. He told them that they were strong enough to fend for themselves and that he will always be watching over them. The two were shocked and saddened by this event, as they will not be able to see the blonde man anytime soon after that. Safe to say, the two cried so much when they got home after that. The two eventually stopped walking as they reached the principal's office. Even though that the Grimoire house basically owned this school with the C-tree. Her brother was still pretty adamant about her asking the principal for permission before starting the occult research club. Well, here goes nothing, Rias said as she knocked on the door. "Ko, me in," Rias heard as the door was opened for her. Rias and Akino walked inside and gave a one-over at who they assumed was the principal's assistant. It was a young woman with a slender physique. She had soft and blonde hair, tied to a bun at the back of her head with an ahoge sticking out from the top slumping towards the front of her face. She was wearing a professional business suit that made her look like she was a Bishonen. "The principal will see you now," she said, getting the attention of the two girls as she pointed to another set of doors that lead to another room. The two entered the room, their eyes widening at the size of dinner plates as they saw who exactly the principal was. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the king of Babylon, the fifth great Satan, the Apollyon, was sitting on the side of a desk smiling at the two of them. "Well, how can I help you two beautiful ladies today?" "Argai," Naruto screamed out as he suddenly rose from his bed. He held his chest as he was hyperventilated. It was those dreams again. Dreams of the tragic past that always haunted him. He looked at his hands as he sighed and relied, "There's no blood." He thought as he felt two pairs of arms surround him. "Yes, it's okay now. Thank you too," the blonde said as he hugged the two back and kissed them both in the lips. "If you're having trouble sleeping, maybe we can help you out," the first girl said as her purple waist-length purple Heim-styled hair and porcelain skin plus shapely body shone under the bright moon that peered through a small crack in the curtains of the room. My, and I thought lewd acts weren't allowed in this household," the teen replied as he finally calmed down. His previous fear was now slowly replaced by arousal. "It's not allowed if I'm not included." The girl replied as she leaned in and started kissing the man's bare body, starting from his lips, then to his chest, trailing her way slowly down, making her way to one of her favorite parts of the man's body. While the perplet was busy with her kisses, the other girl was busy rubbing her body against the man as she nibbled his ear lobe. The man looked at the alarm clock. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. "I guess I'm going to be late for work today," he thought as he began enjoying the pleasure brought about by his two nights. Naruto yawned as he looked at the three badly beaten up students who were brought into his office again. "How many times does it make this week?" the teen asked as he looked at the three students standing across his desk. "It would be the 6th time," his secretary replied. "For the love of it's only Tuesday," the blonde said as he looked closely at each one of the three students, better known as the perverted trio of Kuon. First was Matsuda, the bald one, and Appa. Rentley, he was a lolicon from what he heard. Second was Motohama, the one with glasses and apparently had the ability to accurately measure a female body with one glance. One messed up dujutsu, he thought. The last one was Issei Hyodo, whose reason for being in this school in the first place is to make a harem and is also well known as an opi addict. However, his eye stopped and narrowed for a bit as he looked at Issei. He sensed great power in the boy. He probably has a strong one in fact. He thought about telling Rias about it but decided against it. Her didn't really want to draw a civilian into a life of battles and servitude as someone's evil piece. The blonde just internally sighed. It was like dealing with Jiraiya-sensei again, only 3 times worse. The fact that he wouldn't hit them because he was the principal didn't really help. "Do you guys know why you're here again?" the blonde asked. "Because we were being honest to ourselves," the bald one replied. "Because we were marveling the beauty of the female body," the one with the glasses replied. "Because we were peeping again," Issei replied. Bingo, Naruto said as he clapped his hands. Now then, what to do? What to do? What kind of punishment should I give you? Naruto said with an evil grin on his face. The three perverts froze. They didn't like that gleam on the principal's eye as well as that grin. Last time he had that the three of them were forced into doing a ridiculous exercise regimen that even made the former bald athlete groan in pain. Ah, I know, the man said as he reached for a drawer in his desk. Where was it? Oh, here it is, Naruto said as he pulled out a small orange book. The perverted trio's eyes widened as they saw what the principal had. It was every pervert's dream, and it was the book that corrupted or molded their young souls into becoming who they are today. The Bible to all of the perverts around the world. A first edition copy of Ica Ica Paradise signed by the author himself. Mint conditioned, the principal said as he placed the book on the desk. That's. Issei's eyes were wide as hell. His mouth opened as slight drool was trailing down. He was visibly shaking, trying his best not to jump the book and run. Impossible, there's only 10 copies of that, Motohama said, visibly shaking as well. Ica Ica, the blad one kept repeating like a broken record. Now for your punishment, the blonde said as he pulled out an ashtray big enough to fit the book. He then took out a lighter and placed the novel in the ashtray. The trio's eyes widened. No, the three screamed out in unison. Oh, and why should? The blonde asked as he lighted up the lighter. We won't peep anymore. At least for the week, Issei answered, getting nods from both of his companions. And what guarantee do I have that you three will stick to your side of the agreement? If we break it, we'll do that regimen again, Issei answered, not really thinking right in. How the only thing in his mind was stopping their principal from destroying that magnificent piece of art. Fair enough, the blonde said as he turned the lighter off. This is the only warning. Why? Oh, you three will get the next time I will burn all of these, Naruto said as he pulled out the whole collection of Ica Ica All First Edition and showed it to the trio. And I'll make you watch as I burn them. Hi, the three said in unison. Okay, you three are free to go, Naruto said as the three turned around and started walking towards the door. Oh, and by the way, he said as the three teens turned their heads around. Stop ogling and gawking at my secretary or I will personally castrate the three of you with a rusty knife, the man said, calmly smiling with his only visible eyes closed. The three nodded in fear as they swore they saw a gigantic fox mask behind the principal. You may go now, Naruto said as the three immediately ran out of the room. That was unneeded, master, his assista. NT said the moment the three left the room. My, Arthur-chan, what did I tell you to call me when the two of us were alone? He replied as he looked at his secretary. Naru-kun, she said, blush-eye smile. And I did that because I really don't like perverts looking at one of my beautiful lovers with their lewd eyes. Saber just blushed madly as she tried to keep herself from jumping the blonde right here and right now. Knock knock knock, come in, the blonde said, saving his secretary the trouble of opening the door. The door opened and two girls entered. The first girl who entered as a young woman around the same age as Rias. She has black hairstyle in a short bub cut. She is also wearing a pair of red glasses that showed her purple eyes. The second one was standing slightly behind the first girl. She has shoulder-length black hair with split bangs. Like the first one, she was also wearing glasses, but hers was semi-rimmed with square lenses that showed her heterochromic eyes. They were the current student council president Sona Shitori, or Citri, a high-class devil and little sister of the current Leviathan, and her queen, the current student council vice president Tsubaki Shinra. I wasn't expecting this. To what owe this pleasure? Do you two need anything, Sona-chan, Tsubaki-chan? The teen said as he smiled. I swear you and Nei-san have the same personality, the perp-eyed girl replied as she shook her head. Oh, so would you like me to dress up as a magical girl and run around the school as magical girl lyrical Naruto? Tsubaki had to hold back her laughter as she imagined the scene. Let's get back to business, Sona said as she tried her hardest to get that image out of her mind. So what do you need of this humble principal? The great king of Babylon humble? She thought, slightly sweat dropping before continuing on. I'm here to ask for a week-long training session for my pieces. Oh. And who would you like to train your young pieces? The blonde replied, slightly curious at who Sona would pick. Sona smiled a bit before answering. I would like to ask for the help of the great Hania, Mia to train my pawns, rooks, knights, and queen, as well as he help of the Maga Nosferatu, to train me and my bishops. She paused before adding. I'm willing to pay. She was cut off when the man cleared his throat. No need for any payment. I do owe Sarah-chan a favor, so considered this one free. The blonde said as he smiled at the student council president. Thank you Apollyon-sama, said Sona slightly bowing. No problems, and I've told you before, call me Naruto. I don't really care about titles, the blonde said as he waves his hand dismissively. So when do you want the training to actually start? This weekend would be a good date to start, she replied. Okay, the blonde said as his assistant listed down the date. He then looked up in the clock and noticed the time. I'm sorry Sona-chan, Tsubaki-chan, but I have to cut this meeting short. I have a previous appointment I must attend to and it seems I'm running a bit late, the man said as he stood up. Let me accompany you two beautiful ladies out of the room, the blonde said, earning a blush. From both the president and the vice president. Saber, look after things while I'm gone, the blonde said, earning a nod from his knight as he led the two girls out of his office. I'll see you two beauties later, Naruto said as he walked away, leaving behind two slightly blushing girls standing outside his office. Elsewhere, please go out with me. 5 simple words were said. 5 simple words that made the gears start turning. No one knew it at the time. But those 5 simple words changed everyone's lives. Those 5 simple words sealed his fate. Occult Research Club. Rias sighed for what seemed to be the 100th time that day. She was currently sitting in a couch of their club room, a wood-paneled room with Victorian-styled furniture, one side set up to be used as a bath, pouting while patiently waiting for someone with her queen, rook, and knight. Where is he? She asked to herself. Bucho needs to be a bit more patient, Akino said, although inside she was like the president and was getting a tad bit impatient. Do you want me to get him for you, Bucho? Asked a handsome young man with short blonde hair. He was wearing the Kuo Academy boys' uniform, which consisted of a black blaze, long-sleeved dress shirt, black ribbon on the collar, with matching black pants and dress shoes. Thank you for the offer, Kiba-kun, but knowing Naru-sensei, he's already his way here. Yeah, added a petite girl with white hair with 2 long bangs going past her shoulders while several loose ones were hanging over her forehead. Like Rias and Akino, she was wearing the academy uniform. Without the shoulder cape as she ate a taiyaki. Who knows, sensei might be in this room already, said the queen. Oh, how did you find out? Said a familiar voice that shocked everyone in the room. They all looked at the direction of the voice and found a man standing near one of the windows. He was wearing a sharp black suit with a golden-colored dress shirt underneath a very well-made and fitted blazer, along with a plain black tie paired up with black dress pants and shoes. Overall, the man looked dashing with his sharp-looking attire, golden blonde hair and mismatched blue and black eyes. All the girls in the room couldn't help but blush at the presence of the man. Sorry for being late, the man said as he smiled at the group. Sensei, the white-haired girl from earlier said, as she immediately glomped the blonde man. Hey there, Kaneko-chan, the blonde said as he began petting the girl who now sported cat ears. Good afternoon, Naruto-sensei, greeted Kiba as he gave a small bow. Yo, was the blonde's quick reply. Nice to have you with us, Naruto-sensei, said Akino as she approached the blonde, handing him a cup of tea. Beautiful as ever, Akino-chan, the blonde said as he took the cup from her and started drinking. Sensei, you're 2 hours late, came from the Rias. Well, I sort of got lost in the road of life, the blonde said as he stopped petting Kaneko for a second and asked her to return to the couch. The girl has really gotten attached to him after he taught her how to properly utilize the use of senjutsu. So why did you ask me to come here, Rias-chan? Naruto said with as he took a sip from his cup of tea. Well, I wanted to ask if you'd want to be my fiancé, Rias said, making the blonde's eye widen as he immediately did a spit take. What? He asked. Just joking, Rias said as she cutely stuck out her tongue. Were you really joking, Bucho? Akino teased as Rias suddenly blushed, something that didn't escape from the blonde. He knew she had a crush on him, and he knew the same could be said about Akino. He knows how both of them would often stare at him blushing or avert their gaze when he looks at them, although props for Akano for hiding it better than Rias. The blonde smiled mischievously as he sneaked behind the Lightning Queen and hugged her. Now Akano-chan tilde don't go on teasing Rias-chan, he whispered to he. Our ear, making her freeze up and blush madly while the others giggled. It's not often they see Akano flustered. Naruto just smiled as he broke the hug and went back to his spot. So back to business, the blonde said as he looked at Rias. Hi sensei, I'd like to ask for information about a certain student. Oh, who is this lucky guy? Naruto asked, having a vague idea who she wants to learn about. Issei Hyodo. Naruto just smiled as he clicked his fingers, a small magical circle appearing in the middle of the air. Soon enough there was a small puff of smoke as a small folder fell from the circle. He grabbed the folder and handed it to Kiba, who was closest to him. Did you really have to repeat the fact he's a pervert so many times? Rias asked as Kaneko just narrowed her eyes. She hated perverts. Are you sure you're not exaggerating, Naruto-sensei? Asked Kiba as he handed the documents to Rias. Nope, he and his friends has been in my office for the 6th time this week. I swear if Arthur-chan didn't, I'd definitely lose count. Quote, oh, and Kiba, since Ken won't be around for a while because he's visiting a friend, Saber-chan will handle your trainin'. Just shivered the last time he trained her left him in a not so great condition afterwards. Let's say some of his fangirls started crying when they saw him all bruised up. Hi, so interested in making him your pawn? Naruto asked as he looked at Rias. I don't want to needlessly drag him into becoming a devil if possible, but I'll probably put him under surveillance in case he gets attacked by a fallen angel, replied the crimson-haired beauty. Okay, aside from that, what else do you need me for? Training. The blonde just smiled as he clicked his fingers, a giant magical circle appearing underneath all the club members. Same spot? The blonde asked. Hi sensei, Rias said as every member of her peerage got ready for battle. There was a bright light that shined around the room before space warped, teleporting the group into a familiar landscape. They were in the middle of a forest with golden trees. Welcome back to the forest of death. Try not to die, the man said as he vanished in a puff of smoke. Next day, it was Sunday, meaning no school today, which meant no work today, so Naruto was happily spending his day off sitting in front of his plasma screen TV playing Hello Reach in his K-Box 360 with some friends. Come on Zex, we're in a hurry here, the blonde screamed out as he watched Zex trailing behind their group. Hurry up, I want to finish this stage now so I can continue my research, said another voice. Fuck off, Zex said. Get in the car now, screamed out the usually lazy man. Zex, you noob, get in the car, the blonde said. Leave him, the other voice said. No, don't, was the only thing he said as his character was killed by an elite. Go go go. Don't let Zex sacrifice be in vain, Naruto said as their vehicle started moving. For Team Noble, don't let Zex death be in vain. We will not stop till we save Reach. We will not stop fighting until Reach has a happy ending. The other three screamed out. The hell, you guys let that elite kill me. May you suck at this game, Zex, Ajuka said. Oh yeah, well eat this, Zex said as he respawned and started firing at Ajuka, killing him. He then proceeded to teabag him. Mawawawawa ha 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 ha. Who sucks now B*TCH. Naruto just face-palmed. I can't believe you two are frigging high-ranking devils, he paused. Then again, the blonde said as he killed Zex. It's just so fun messing with him, he thought. Ah, Zex screamed oh, oot, and suddenly disconnected from the game. He destroyed his K360 again, didn't he? The blonde asked. Troublesome. Yeah, ring ring. AFK. Phone call, Naruto said as he answered his phone. Yeah, oh hey, what's going on? So Issei has a date. And I would care why. Oh, fallen angel then. Sure, I'll be there. Sorry guys, Saber-chan just called. Go, let's play again next time, the blonde said as he closed his K360. Well then, let's see what kind of mess you've gotten yourself into, Issei, the blonde said as he vanished in a flash of yellow. Park. Naruto stood atop a tree a few meters away from Issei, and his date standing beside him was his secretary Saber, or Arthur-chan. This is interesting. the blonde said as he saw Issei's date suddenly sprout out those all-familiar fallen angel wings. Should we intervene? He will get killed, master, Saber asked, ready to summon her sword and jump in if necessary. No, we don't interfere. Why? Because if I know Rias Chanshish, E's planning on adding him to her peerage, and beside it's too late. The blonde pointed out as a spear of holy light was already lodged in Issei's stomach. I never like seeing people get killed, but I feel some sort of satisfaction seeing a massive pervert die. I wonder why, he thought as he saw the fallen angel leave. We're not needed here, let's go, Rias can handle this, the blonde saw it to his secretary just as the crimson-haired princess appeared. Oh, was it you who summoned me? But I wonder, what type of gear could you be carrying? The girl said as she began taking out several pawns. A few days later, principal's office, night time. Naruto just sighed as he looked at the papers scattered all over his desk. The recent increase of fallen angel activities in his territory. Why was, for a lack of a better word, pissing him off. He was really, and he meant really, close to just saying to hell with it and marching into their headquarters, but what was the point of that? It would be too boring. Naruto let out an evil smile as a thought passed by his mind. Guess I better call him now. Naruto takes out a phone and dials a number. He waits for few seconds before someone on the other side picked up. Yo, Azazel Tilda, the blonde almost screamed out in the most cheerful way possible. Yeah, I'm okay. And yeah, same place next week, I'm paying for drinks. Yes. Oh, why I called? Well, it seems a few fallen angels has decided to mess around in my territory. Well, it's not my territory per se, it's more of Zirk's, but he asked me to look over it and back to business. Got a few Allen angels here trying to pull something off. Do you know them? Oh really? Long black hair. BSDM suit. What the hell do you mean? I got to be specific. He paused for a bit as he rubbed the bridge of his nose. Yes, she has big tits. You happy now? Rainier, is it okay for me to deal with her? Really? You're fine with it? Yeah, I won't kill her, but I do need to punish her. So what about their plans? Okay, so no idea. Yeah, I believe you. Kill them. Why would I do that? I won't kill them if they're not that bad, but would you mind if I make her and whoever else she's with my pawns? Why? I've been looking more help around the house. Yep, sure, thanks. So, and try to see if you can drag Barkiel along next time we drink. His stories are pretty good. Okay, see you this weekend. Then, Naruto finished as he turned off his phone. Well then, what to do, the blonde thought as he grabbed a pen and spun it around his hand. Artheria-chan. Hi I mean Naru-kun. The knight replied. Look after the place, I'm going out for a walk, Naruto said as he got up from his chair and left the room with a strange smile on his face. 24 hours later, an injured, beaten, and badly bruised Naruto walked inside his office limping. Master, his knight replied as she walked towards the blonde and started to assist him into a chair. What happened? The knight asked as she looked frantically over the injured blonde. I took a walk a few hours ago. I wonder where I should go, said the blonde as he walked down the streets. He was randomly walking around, hanged into some random person pretending to be a low class until he reached a rather weird scene. It was Issei, who he hasn't seen since his death a few days ago, facing against a fallen angel. This one different fro. The first, it was a tall buxom woman with long, navy blue hair that hid her right eye. She was wearing a violet trench coat-like top with a wide collar, a matching mini skirt and black-heeled shoes. Naruto just watched as she kept throwing those light spears at Issei. He was thinking about actually stepping in and helping, but when he saw that determined look in the pervert's face, he knew he was on to pull something off his ass and actually win this dragon shot and pull of something from his ass. He did. Naruto heard Issei scream out as he activated his gear and fire off a wave of magical energy at the female fallen angel, forcing her to fly away and retreat. Well, this is where I step in, Naruto said as chased after the fallen angel. Calawarner was not having good day. She thought she found a low-rank devil that was easy pickings. She was planning to kill him to vent out some of her built-up frustrations, but apparently the kid had some kind of sacred gear. She was already a few kilometers away from the boy before she stopped flying and landed on the ground. She sighed. Rainier isn't going to be happy about this. And why is that? Because I have to tell her of another devil Ith a sacred J. The fallen angel's eyes widened and looked at the direction of looked like a plain Japanese teenager. Black hair, squinty eyes, black eyes, but she could feel it a small amount of the essence of a devil lingering within the kid. She smiled. Looks like she'll be able to vent today. Her wings quickly shot out, as she took out a spear of light and threw it at what she thought was a low W-class devil, but to her shock the man simply jumped away and avoided the impending spear. Wah! She thought as she produced another spear. Now tell me, the teen said as he avoided another spear. Wah! T is a fallen angel like you doing in this territory hunting down devils? None of your business, she replied as she threw 2 spears at the boy this time, which again was evaded. Just wondering really. Don't you know that this area is under the territory of the Grimoire, and from what I heard the one of the 5 great Satans resides in this town? The angel just smirked at the new info. This would be useful. She'll have to tell Rainier about this after she disposes of this brat. And which great Satan is it? The woman asked. The boy smiled as he was surrounded by smoke. Not even a second passed, and Calawarner was already on her knees looking on the ground, shocking at the monstrous presence surrounding the whole area. That would be me, a voice said as Calawarner used all her strength to look up. Her eyes widened in realization as she saw the blonde man standing in front of him. Apollyon. Good. The man smiled as he placed his hand on the head of the kneeling Calawarner. Now I'll give you 2 choices, dire. Tell me everything you and your group are planning and I guarantee all of your survivals. The fallen angel gulped. How am I sure you aren't just going to kill me after I give you out the information? True. How about if I tell you I was given permission to by Azazel to take out the fallen angels who decided to invade my territory? You know either way I can take the information out of you. But it would absolutely be less painful if you decided to just come clean. The fallen angel just let out a defeated sigh. Friendship or not with Rainier, that wasn't going to help her now. Deciding it's the best option right now, she decided to come clean. She told him all of their plans, the existence of Ossia Argento, the presence of the exiled exorcist Freed, who the other fallen angels were, the plans to extract Twilight healing from the princess, and the plans to use the ring for themselves. The boy smiled. He kept his hand on her forehead for a reason. He wasn't friends with a Yamanaka ages ago for nothing. Okay then, you'll let me go? The fallen angel asked. I said I'll guarantee your survival, but that doesn't mean you're not going to get punished for attacking a devil that belonged to the Grimoire house and your illegal activities here in my domain. The woman's eyes widened before she closed it in acceptance. She knew she was going to get killed. She 80 told him everything she should have known better to trust a devil of all things. Now then, she heard as she felt a something getting pressed up against her. Gah! She screamed oh! Oot as the blonde's hand went through her, piercing her through the heart. This is your punishment, she heard as she saw a shining red chess piece. A pawn. She was going to be a pawn of a devil of all things. Good, Naruto said as he looked at the unconscious form of the newly reincarnated Calawarner. He picked her up bridal style as a large magic circle appeared on the ground engulfing the blonde eye. A bright light as the same magic symbol reappeared in the middle of his palace in Babylon. Sakuya, the blonde called out. Out of nowhere, a girl wearing a maid outfit with silver hair that has a lawn braid on each side of her face with green bows at the end and dark blue eyes appeared. Hi Naruto-sama, the maid asked as the blonde handed the unconscious ex-fallen angel at her. You've been taking care of this place too much on your own. This one is my new pawn. Expect a few more to come in the coming day, but please train them to be a good maids, the blonde said, getting a silent nod from the head maid as she suddenly vanished before reappearing again. Calawarner long gone. Naruto-sama, Akane-sama and Izumi-sama told me that if you drop by that you should stop lazing around and run this country on your own. As much as I'd like to run this country on my own, I just don't want to. It's boring, more boring than being a school principal. It's just too troublesome, and I'm sure those two can handle it. Well, almost anyone can probably handle it. Hell, even a monkey can probably do it. But you know, it's just not that important for me to do, the blonde said as he suddenly felt a massive killing intent coming from his back. They're behind me, aren't they? he asked, getting a nod in reply. Crap, Naruto though, as he turned around and saw 9 tails and 2 demonic wings already waving around. From the red head, while there was 12 crow-like looking demon wings waving behind the Ravenette's back. How you girls having fun? The blonde asked. So even a monkey can do it, huh? The reed head asked as a naginata appeared in her hand. Foolish Naru-kun, making us run this empire for the past year without even visiting is not our definition of fun, she said as she summoned a sword in her hand. What's the safe word? Naruto said as the two approached him, wicked grins marred around their faces. Crap, he thought. Another few days later, Issei was sitting down on a park bench moping. Why can't I sign any contracts? He though, as he cried, remembering a certain summoner that asked to be turned into a magical girl. Problem was the guy was so frigging huge. He swore even if he was a devil and even if he used his sacred gear that man would outright murder him in a fight. Still gave him nightmares since the man was wearing a Mahou Shoujo outfit, specifically the sailor senshi type. Hawa tilde, the boy heard as he looked at the direction of the noise. It was a blonde-haired girl who tripped over, flashing her panties at him. Are you okay? Issei asked as he got up from the bench and helped the girl up. Thank you, the girl said as she grabbed the hand and looked up to whoever it was who helped her. Green eyes met brown, none met devil, and a friendship was born. He continued walking the blood-stained battlefield, not really caring about the smell or the pile of corpses that surrounded him. He continued walking with lifeless eyes, failing to notice a small rip appearing in the space behind him. He continued walking as he still felt the blood of his friends on his hands. What do we have here? A dark feminine voice came from behind the man. He turned around and saw what could only be described as a monster. The top half of its body was a naked woman while the lower part was something that looked like a spider. He just stared at her direction with those lifeless eyes as she continued taunting the man. He wasn't paying attention to her, but he was staring at that small rip in space behind the creature. Woman, the man said with a tone that demanded obedience, his voice immediately making the demon stop talking. What is in the other side of that portal? He asked as he tapped his foot on the ground as if demanding her to hurry up for an answer. The woman just glared at the man. How dare he command a demon? The underworld, she growled out as she prepared herself to launch herself at the man. The arrogant monkey would at least pass as a good meal. A place where monsters reside, huh? The man said to himself as the demon charged at him, or at least tried. Before the woman could even come close to him, she was bisected in half by a blade of wind. The man walked towards the portal, ignoring the demon he just killed. I guess in the end, the underworld is the best place for a blood-stained devil like me, the man said to himself as he took a step towards the portal, vanishing in a flash of bright light. While a certain brown-haired pervert was getting acquainted with a golden-haired nun, Rias and Akino were standing in front of their sensei's desk in the principal's office. The fifth Satan see them, vaguely mentioning something about asking for a favor and getting rewarded if they do it. Hook, line, and sinker, the two immediately left the club room. The mom and they received the message, leaving behind a confused Kiba and an indifferent Kaneko whose senses were telling her to follow the two, but she put it aside as she chewed on some mochi. Why did you call us for sensei? Rias asked as she tried to maintain the proper posture befitting for the heir of the Grimoire clan. Emphasis on tried, because every time she was close by the handsome blonde devil she couldn't help but blush and fidget. Foo foo foo, is sensei finally going to make his move and add us to his harem? Akino asked, trying to tease the man while hiding the fact that she was in the same position as Rias. The man just palmed his face. Seriously, where did the young and innocent Akino go? Wait, did such an Akino exist in the first place? Naruto thought before he shook his head. It wasn't the right time to think about that. Akino-chan's comment aside, he told them internally, chuckling as he saw Akino pout. I'm here to ask you guys to do 2 simple tasks for me, he added as he noticed his 2 students tense up. Rias and Akino gulped. There was no such thing as a simple task when their sensei was involved. Last time he asked the entire occult research club to do one of his sokai. Simple tasks. Gasper Vladi Rias Bishop was so mentally traumatized by the event that he became a coward and a shut-in. The two shivered as they thought about the young Dampier, now that they thought about it. His penchant hobby of cross-dress started shortly after that task. Anyo, "Sensei, is it going to be like the last one?" Akano asked as if her life depended on it, and in some case it really did. "Ah. No, it's not like that one. This one is simpler," Naruto responded as he snapped his fingers, gesturing his secretary who was standing to his side to elaborate. His secretary nodded as she took a step forward and handed Rias and Akano a folder. "We are currently having some trouble with some upstart fallen angels that are trying to start something in our area." She paused for a moment to let he too absorb the information. "The folder has some information about the fallen angels and their associates. Master wishes for you two to try and apprehend these people so they may be punished," she finished as she took a few steps back, returning to her master's side. "The other mission is the easier one of the two. I'm also asking you two to capture or kill a stray devil that also appeared in our area according to reports. It's visor, so your little club would probably have an easy time dealing with her," the blonde added. Rias nodded as she opened the folder and looked at the contents. She knew there were fallen angels in the area, and Hell One was responsible for killing her newest pawn. "This seems reasonable," she mumbled to herself. "What's the catch, sensei?" Rias asked. Since one of the first lessons the blonde ever taught them were to look underneath the underneath, so there was definitely some other reason for this mission. Naruto smiled. His student was getting sharp. "There's no catch in this one," he lied. He was using this as a method to evaluate Rias and her peerage's strength with the recent news he received from various sources about the unrest in the Phoenix family. He was sure that they would push for her arranged marriage with Riser. He didn't like it one bit, but the agreement was made even prior to him becoming a Satan. If he wanted to, he knew he could annul it. Why challenging or tricking the Phoenix family into a rating game with Rias' engagement on the line? But he'd rather do it as a last resort, and he knew Rias would probably want to get out of the engagement. NT in her own way probably going to propose something outrageous like challenging her fiancé in a rating game. Although the blonde doubted that she would try and do something as ridiculous like that, right? Rias just pouted. She hated it when their sensei did this. "So if we do this, what can we expect as a reward?" she asked as Akano just did one of her foo sounds while whispering something out Bucho being so bold, making said girl sweat drop. The man smiled, and it wasn't a normal one. It was one more akin to a seductive one that would make any girl in the area weak in their knees if they saw it. "Secret," he answered as he smiled at them. Akano just covered her mouth with her sleeve as she kept doing her foo sounds while Rias. Well, the girl was already in Lala and imagining going out on a perfect date with their hunk of a sensei. "You know, the earlier you finish this task, the faster you can get your reward," Naruto added as Rias' eyes widened. The girl then grabbed her queen's arm and dragged her out of the office. They had some investigating to do, and they were going to do it now. Naruto just kept smiling as he waved at the two girls who ran out of his office. "Was that really necessary, master?" the knight asked as she watched the two devils leave the room. "I know they'll pretty much accomplish this task with ease, but there's nothing wrong with a little extra incentive," he answered before he turned his head to his side and looked at his assistant. "Oh yeah, Altria-chan, how is Kiba's training?" The knight just hung her head low. "His swordsmanship is steadily progressing, but he still hates you, doesn't he?" "Yes," she replied as she looked away. "It seems his hatred for the holy blade runs deep." She paused as she took in a breath of air. "And after hearing what he had to go through, I can't really blame him." Naruto frowned. He really hated to see it when one of his girl were in distraught, but he knew there was nothing he could say to Altria to make her feel better, so he just stood up and hugged the girl, hoping to comfort her. The knight was brought out of her fusing as she felt her master's arms around her. She couldn't help but blush and was about to return the hug. "Are you feeling better now?" Naruto asked while the girl nodded in response as the two broke their hug. She was still blushing a bit, but she then thought of something that she has been meaning to ask her king. "Naru-kun," she said, getting the man's attention. "Yes, I know you or any of us could easily do it, so why don't you just beat the fallen angels rather than asking Rias-san and Akano-san?" she asked. Naruto opened his mouth and was about to answer only to get cut off as another person decided to answer for him, because the Gaki needs to grow up. He can't be there forever to help them, you know. The knight's eyes widened as she saw a person slowly rise out from her master's shadow. It was a young Caucasian girl with long blonde hair that went to her calves. She has blue eyes like the Naruto and was beautiful despite her young frame. The girl was wearing a black sailor sefuku along with black knee socks. At first glance the girl looked extra Emily innocent, but that small glint of mischief in her eyes and the smirk on her face says otherwise. She was just as blood-stained like everybody else in their king's peerage. Evangeline. Saber sighed. In shocked as she tensed up. What are you doing here? She asked nervously, making Naruto raise one eyebrow. That was new. He didn't know his assistant was somehow scared of the little girl. Bwaha. Aha. She laughed loudly as she ignored the knight's question. You owe me big for this one, Naruto, she said as she pointed at her fellow blonde. I've got all the info you wanted, now praise my awesome Ines, she added as she continued laughing proudly. Aw, thank you, Kitty-chan. Those were the only words Naruto had to say to deflate the girl's ego. Evangeline stopped laughing as she suddenly face-faulted. I told you not to call me that, the girl muttered as she stood up. Call you what? Naruto smiled as he teased the girl and saw her face suddenly redden, and he could have sworn steam was coming out of her ears. She was just adorable when she was being teased. Not like a lot of people could do it though. She was still his bishop and is in fact one of the most feared bishop's throughout. Of her great magical prowess and Shinso lineage plus her ice magic is on par if not slightly better than one of the ultimate queens Graphia. Grr. I shouldn't have let you meet that Baka Albiro, Evan. Jeline muttered as she looked at her king before adopting a pose of pure seriousness. Well, as for the information you wanted, you were right, he was involved in all of this and it was apparently Bako. Say he wanted to added this girl. The girl took out a picture of a golden-haired nun. In his harem after, in the man's own words, she's thoroughly broken, she added as the smile from Naruto's face vanished. I see, Naruto said as the temperature in the room suddenly dropped a few degrees. There were a few things in this world that ticked him off, and scheming of this level and what the man planned to do with the nun were two of them. There were a few sacred rules in the underworld that everyone knew they should always follow lest they want to be killed painfully. The first was to never piss of Sir Zex or make a pass at his wife Graphia. The second was to never disturb Ajuka while he's in the middle of his experiments. Third was to never disturb Falbium when he is taking a nap or force him to do work. The fourth one was to never insult her sister or magical girls when Seraphol was around. Something a few devils can attest to, as some idiots often do the latter, and their fate, well, it's better if they were dead. Finally, the fifth and the most feared rule was, do whatever possible to never get on Naruto's bad side. He was not given the title Apollyon for nothing, and a few fools who dared challenge him for his title or insult any member of his peerages were obliterated. Safe to say this prick Evangeline was talking about just got in his bad side, but before he could talk to the man he needed to ask for one of his friends' permission to do so. Eva-chan, would you mind doing me another favor? Naruto asked, only to get an immediate nod in response from the bishop. Everyone in his peerage knew that there was no room for joking around when their king was ticked off. Good, could you please watch over Issei for a while? He asked, only for the vampire to tilt her head to the side as if asking who the hell Issei was. Issei is Rias' new pawn, and I have a feeling that he will be involved in what's going to happen. That, and I don't want him to get killed. Who knows, he could be doing something as stupid as going near a church. Said brown-haired teen sneezed as he walked away from the church after showing the nun the way. But you know what, I won't be surprised if it actually happened. He's stupid like that. But, being perverted aside, he kind of reminds me of someone I knew. How is that, master? Altria asked, really surprised at her king said. How was he like that pervert? She thought. He has the same flames in him that I once had long ago, Naruto replied as his eyes suddenly flashed to a scene he long forgot, a scene of an old pervert who, despite his flaws, was one of the people he cherished the most. Okay, but you own me again after this one, Evangeline told him as she once again sunk in the shadows. Altria, call Mia, I have something to ask you two. Oh, do? Naruto said as a mischievous grin appeared in his face. The knight only nodded before a small magical circle appeared below her as she vanished. Naruto, now sitting alone in the room, took out his phone and dialed a number before bringing it to his ear. After a few rings, the man on the other side picked up. What do you want? I'm busy. We need to talk about your brother. Issei was not having a nice week. Aside from meeting that kind and cute nun, nothing good has been happening. The past few days were spent by doing nothing but failing to make contracts with clients. The night before he had to deal with the stray demon visor and see how insignificant he was compared to the other members, that stupidly fast Bishonen, the unbelievably strong and durable Loli, the sadistic queen and the beautiful yet cruel Bucho. After seeing that, he got a feeling that getting a harem would be a hell of a lot harder, especially if the girls were stronger than him. But it wasn't time to think about that. He had to complete a contract so Bucho will reward him. Now normally it was easy for a devil to create a contract with a human, but Issei, for the lack of better words to describe it, was really stupid at his job. Although he gets the best feedback from clients, he still hasn't managed to get one of them to sign a contract with him. Currently he was attempting to make another contract with a client only to stumble upon this scene. What scene, you may ask? Well, let's say he found his client. Good, right? Yeah, good if he wasn't crucified upside down in a wall, with a large gash on its abdomen. Guts were falling around everywhere. A wooden stake piercing the man's chest. Yeah, like blood, and the smell of death that was thick inside of the room was any indication of the scene. To make his day even better, the culprit was still in the scene. The culprit gave Issei an extremely disturbing smile that bordered insanity. Ah, welcome. What do we have here? Ah, hello, Devil-kun tilde, said a young man with short white hair and red eyes. He was dressed with clothes befitting that of a priest, or even worse, an exorcist. Issei just stood there, his eyes widening as he remembered Baku's warnings. Don't ever get too close to a priest, he recalled as he sweat dropped. The white-haired priest twirled around cheering. I'm a priest, I'm a priest, I'm so lucky that I am a priest tilde. He then spun around as if dancing. As he sang out, cutting down all those devils tilde, while the nihilistic me is laughing tilde, the man span around, getting closer and closer to the low-class devil, chopping off your devilish heads tilde, then to go to eat tilde. I'm Father Selzen Fried tilde, the man finished as he got close to Issei, their faces only a few inches away. Issei gulped. He could see the man's breath. Sorry, I know you're a priest and all, but I don't swing that way, the brunette said as he backed away, waving his hands defensively in front of him. Huh, what the hell are you talking about? Asked the confused priest, who was caught off guard by the boy's response. Well, you're a priest and you sang that particularly happy song while dancing, and for a second there I thought you were going to kiss me, so I kind thought you were, you know. Fried just stared at the young devil. Not that there's anything wrong with that, he was stopped when a bullet nicked him in the cheek. The priest, now with a tick mark on his head, just smiled as he stared at the young devil while pointing a gun to his on the devil's head. I'm the last ranking member who belongs to an organization that hunts down devil. Why did you have to kill him? Issei asked as he glared at the man. He was a repeat offender. Huh, and if you were to blame someone for this man's death, you would blame yourself. Are you kind? The man said, a huge grin plastered on his face. I killed him because he repeatedly contracted with devils, and it was an act of kindness on my part. Amen, amen, amen. He laughed out as he started kicking the corpse. But that isn't right. Oh, a devil daring to lecture me about what's right and wrong. I can't have that now, right? The man asked as he pulled out a sword from inside his robes. Issei could have sworn the sword was a rip-off from that George Lucas film. The man suddenly jumped and swiped his blade, attempting to behead the young devil. Luckily Issei managed to take a step back, evading the blow, only to grit his teeth in pain. When he suddenly noticed pain coming from his thighs, he looked down, and as his eyes widened in shock, there was a bullet hole in his thigh. How's the bullets? The priest asked as Issei fell to his butt, gripping his leg. Bullets of light. Did they feel good, devil? Wait, no need to answer, the man added as he kicked off the ground and ran towards Issei. The man extended his hand, sword already drawn, and ready to slice off the young devil's head off. The priest's eyes narrowed as he was forced to stop his attack when someone got in between him and they'd believe what he was seeing. His friend, that kind nun from the other day, just saved him. Hey, that was dangerous, Asia-chan, I almost sliced you in two, Fried asked with a tick mark on his head, clearly frustrated that he was stopped from killing the devil. Please stop this. Why are you attacking Issei-san? The nun asked. Oh, you didn't know? Ha 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 ha, this is hilarious. A forbidden love between a devil and a nun, Fried told her as he laughed. Get when he watched her expression turn to one of pure shock. Issei-san is a devil. The nun asked again as her eyes widened. The first friend she ever made was a devil of all things. It was so iron. I see she got kicked out of the church for healing a devil and now she became friends with another. It was as if she was destined to be with devils. You know this guy right, you know I'll turn him into a pretty work of art like this one soon. The exorcist pointed at the corpse pinned on the wall as the nun covered her mouth with both of her hands. Asia-tan, is this your first time seeing a corpse? Well, look closely, it won't be the last. This is the end that awaits all those shitty humans who makes deals with devils. He laughed out once more as the nun's eyes moistened in tears. Now please get out of the way, the priest asked in mock kindness as he looked at Asia. No, Issei is kind, please just look. She was cut off when the man smacked her in the face with the butt of his gun. Bastard, Issei spat out as he slowly stood up, glaring at the priest. Don't hurt Asia, he added as he ran towards the priest in a burst of speed that he didn't know he had. He held his fist back before he placed his force into it, punching the unsuspecting priest in the face. The priest was sent tumbling back a few feet, but he didn't fall. You fucking devil. The man screamed out as he started firing his gun, hitting Issei in his legs and stomach, forcing the devil to stop from following up his attack. Issei fell to the ground on his knees as he held onto his stomach. It hurt, it really hurt. He looked it to his side and saw a slightly conscious Asia, her eyes barely open with tears flowing out of them. Issei, she silently muttered. I smiled sadly, that girl was really too kind. Who knows if I ever of this crap, I might ask her out on a date, he thought as he tilted his head back at the pissed-looking priest in front of him. Fried grabbed Issei by his collar and began pummeling the devil's face. Amen, he chanted as he punched the devil a few more times before kicking him on the chest, pushing him just a few feet away from Asia. You know what, Asia-tan, I'm feeling happy today, so I'll show you an act of genuine kindness, Fried told her as Asia's eyes widened in surprise, thinking that the priest was going to let her friend go. I'm going to kill him in front of you, the grinning Fried proclaimed as he brought his sword up like he did earlier. This time he knew the devil was going to die. There was no way in hell that Asia can block this for him. Bye-bye, devil, he told Issei as he swung down his sword. Issei closed his eyes while Fried's eyes widened before he jumped back far away from the devil. Huh? Issei asked aloud, expecting Fried to have already killed him by now. He opened his eyes only to see the exorcist now standing a few feet away from him. The grin on the man's face was gone and was replaced with a face of pure seriousness that he thought such an insane guy could never possess. Issei didn't notice it because he closed his eyes, but the priest did a massive amount of killing intent, accompanied by two eyes with blood-red pupils and pure black sclera that appeared behind the young devil's shadow. Just staring at those eyes gave the priest more than a million images of his imminent death. It was as if he was staring at the void and it was staring back at him. It scared him to a point he almost soiled himself. What the fuck was that? The priest asked as he pointed his gun at Issei, the earlier confidence now gone and replaced by a hint of panic as he began sweating. There were a few things that scared the man, and a being that exuded that much killing intent was definitely one of them. Issei just tilted his head to the side in confusion before going into a coughing fit, coughing out blood all over the place. As Issei did so, a magic circle appeared on the ground. With a flash of bright red light, backup arrived. Issei smiled as he saw his companions from the occult research club before he passed out due to blood loss. Next day. Damn it, Issei though, as he walked into a W.C. Donald's. Earlier that day he once again woke up next to a naked Bucho. You'd think that the super pervert self-proclaimed harem king would enjoy such a view, but for some reason he didn't feel like gawking at his king's beauty. After getting up he asked her about what happened. His king kindly told him how the priest grabbed the nun and retreated after he passed out. Issei sighed as he remembered the lecture he got from Bucho that morning, and in the end she forbade him from seeing Asia. It just didn't sit in well with the devil. He took a sit beside a window as he unwrapped his burger. Itadakamisu, he said as he was about to eat his burger, only to drop it when he saw a familiar girl walking in the streets. Issei stood up and darted out of the shop. Asia, he said, getting the attention of the young nun. Issei-san, the girl said in surprise as the young devil invited her to eat with him. The girl smiled as she nodded, accepting the offer. The two went back inside the W.C. Donald's, failing to notice a man who stood atop of one of the close-by buildings watching the two. Well, how could they notice if the man was a couple hundred meters away? Era peeping isn't the best habit to develop, Naru-kun. A feminine voice with a hint of mischief came from behind the man. I'm not peeping, I'm observing. Mia-chan. Naruto replied as he continued watching the nun and pawn in what was building up to be a date. Oh my, is my Naru-kun going to the path of a deviant? Where did that pure and gentle Naru-kun go? She placed her sleeve near her eyes as she started sniffling. I knew letting you become friends with Azazel-san was a bad idea, she added as she continued her mock crying. Did he ever exist in the first place? Naruto answered back. Did this happen before? He thought as a strange feeling of deja vu went over him. He blinked a few times. Well, I'd be playing Was Effect 3 and killing Reapers with the guys, but I guess looking after the young brat is more important than that. He paused as he scratched the back of his head, just a little bit or important. He chuckled. And Eva-tan asked for a day off. He smiled warmly as he watched the young devil lead the girl out of the restaurant as they made their way to other shops. Naruto turned to face his knight, deciding to give the two lovebirds some privacy. On a side note, he agreed with our plans, so tonight you and Altria are going to visit one of our friends. He told Mia. What did this friend of us do anyway? Altria-chan didn't really tell me about it. Mia asked as she tilted her head to the side, her left sleeve still covering her mouth. Naruto pointed at the nun. Beside Issei. Our friend wanted to break her like a toy before adding her to his harem. He felt the temperature drop a few degrees. His knight was pissed. Sucks to be that guy right now, and from what I hear she is quite the pure and innocent girl, he added, trying to add more fuel to the fire. Oh my, she said as she started chuckling darkly. We can't have that, right? She added as hundreds if not thousands of gruesome hyena masks formed behind her. The faces were screaming in pain as blood seeped out of their eyes and mouth. Hey, save it for our friend, Naruto said as his sweat dropped. No matter how many times he saw those things, it still managed to freak him the fuck out. Save what for our friend? Mia asked innocently as she tilted her head to the side. Naruto just stared at her with a deadpan expression before sighing. Just, you know what, never mind. Whatever it is you say, Naru-kun. The purple L, I must be going now, Naru-kun. I need to make some preparations for our friend, he woman said as she bowed lightly before vanishing. I feel really sorry for that guy right now, the blonde said as he turned around and went back to watching the date. The blonde spent the whole day following and watching as the two went from shop to shop, trying out costumes, eating snacks, playing in the arcade. Issei even won a plushie for the girl. Young love, Naruto muttered out with a small grin on his face as he watched the two walk towards a park. The sun was already setting, and in his opinion the only thing needed to make that the perfect day was if the young devil kissed the girl. Naruto's smile suddenly vanished as he frowned. He sensed something flying towards the park. Judging from its power, it was probably a fallen angel. He looked at the park, and just as he guessed, a fallen angel decided to ruin their date. He grinned when he saw the familiar-looking fallen angel. Black hair, big tits, wearing tight leather BSDM clothing, so Rainier-chan decided to ruin their date, Naruto said as he watched the fallen angel throw one of her spears of light at the devil's stomach, knocking him down on the ground as she took the crying nun away. Naruto looked at the collapsed form of Issei and sighed. Seriously, kid? How many times are you going to die this month? This is almost as bad as your peeping habits, the blonde said as he vanished in a flash of red light before appearing beside the barely conscious pawn. You owe me for this, the blonde said as two rings with a blue-green gem in them appeared in his left middle finger and ring finger. The pawn just looked up with ooded eyes as he saw a blurry figure of someone. Whoever this person was, he was doing something to the young devil. The last thing the devil saw was the person's hand surrounded by a warm green light. When Issei regained consciousness, he found himself sitting in a couch inside their club room. His first response, to no one's surprise, was to scream out Asia's name and make his way towards the door. NLY to be stopped when that stupid Bishonen Kiba blocked the exit. Get out of the way, I need to save Asia, Issei growled out as he glared dangerously at the pretty boy. Issei, The stern and angry voice of Bucho said, making the pawn stop and turn around. That was the first time heard the crimson-haired devil use such a tone of authority and power. "Hi Bucho," he asked as he turned around and saw Rias sitting on her desk. Her face was shadowed by her long crimson hair. Standing beside her was Akino, and on the couch near them was Kaneko, who was for some reason eating a hot dog of all things. "Why do you wish to go after this girl even if she is a nun and enemy to us devils?" Rias asked with an indifferent tone. "Currently you are weak, Issei, and the moment you go after her I can guarantee at those fallen angels will without a doubt kill you," she added this one with a colder tone. "Because she's my friend and I want to protect her," the brown-haired boy answered without hesitation. Ow, they didn't show it." Rias and Akino smiled at the pawn's response as they recalled one of the very first lessons taught to them by Naruto. Flashback. It was the day after Naruto agreed to train the two devils. The three of them were in the middle of the very same forest where the two girls were nearly killed the day before. When a person has something important they want to protect, that's and they can be truly strong, Naruto told a younger-looking Akino and Rias. "Is that why you told me I was going to be strong?" asked a younger Akino. "Yeah, you really did a good job at protecting Ojo-chan," he laughed out as Akino blushed while Rias pouted. "Is that why you're so strong, sensei?" the young Rias absent-mindedly asked. Naruto paused as he closed his eye. "Yes," he answered as the two girls smiled happily, believing the man's words. He was the fifth Satan, and if protecting others made him that strong, then if the two of them followed his words, then they might soon be as strong as the man. The two missed the expression of pain and sadness in their sensei's eye when he opened it. Flashback end. Normally I would not allow you to needlessly throw your life away, but luckily we have received orders from sensei to intervene and lend you our assistance, Rias told the pawn. "So get ready, tonight we're attacking the church," she added as the other members of her peerage nodded. "Huh, Issei?" asked. He thought he'd have a hard time to convince Bucho to let him go after Asia, but this was something unexpected. "Wait," the devil suddenly thought as he processed his king's words. "Bucho, who is this sensei you're talking about?" he asked. He heard the other club members mention the title a few times over the past week, but he didn't really pay attention since he was busy enjoying his new foe and devil powers and plotting about forming his harem. "Don't worry about him," Rias dismissed. "I have a feeling he'll show himself soon enough." Issei nodded in response. He'll ask for more details later. Rescuing Asia was more important right now than figuring out who this sensei was. Later that night, "So how are we going to do this?" Issei asked Kiba, who was assigned as the leader of their group. Kiba, Kaneko, and Issei were currently standing behind a building just a few meters outside an abandoned church which was being used by the fallen angels as a base of operations. "Oh, it's rather simple. Issei-san, we go in through the front door, cause hell and kill everyone who gets in our way while you rescue the girl. Then we leave the same way we entered, through the front door," Kiba replied with a smile on his face. Kaneko silently nodded. "Okay, there's something definitely wrong with this guy," Issei thought as he just heard such an insane plan while the knight was smiling, and for some reason. And he swore the boy sparkled when he mentioned the words, hell, and kill. "Shall we go rescue your princess now, Issei?" Kiba asked as he stood up as a sheathed sword appeared in his left hand. He drew the blade and made a mad dash towards the gate before he slashed it open and ran inside, Kaneko following shortly after the man, while Issei was left behind, sweat dropping before he ran after them. As the three ran towards the church, they failed to notice two fallen angels descend from the heavens. "So we'll be attacking from behind, huh?" the shorted of the two angels asked. She was a girl with blonde hair styled in twin short ponytails. The girl was also wearing a black goth Lolita outfit. "Yes, we'll show this weak devils their place," a middle-aged looking man, wearing a black trench coat and fedora replied. "I wonder where Kala-chan is though. I miss her," the smaller of the two said. "Probably got herself killed," the man replied, not really caring about the other fallen angel. "If she got captured or killed, it was her fault for being weak." Before the small angel could respond to the man's insult, she was suddenly hit by a bolt of lightning. The girl screamed out in pain as thousands of volts surged inside her body before she lost consciousness. Fu, such cold words as expected from a fallen angel. Who are you? The male fallen angel screamed out as he looked around the area. There was no one in it. He tried extending his senses, yet that as well was for naught because he couldn't sense anyone. Well, you can call me Death, the voice replied as the fallen angel's eyes suddenly widened as he felt an intense pain in his chest. The man looked down in shock as he saw a bolt of lightning sticking out of his chest, but what caught the man's attention was the bolt's color. It was black, and that was the last thing the fallen angel saw before a million volts of electricity surged within his body, frying up all his nerves and burning him from within. Foo foo foo, Akano law. D out as she appeared just a few feet away from the now dead fallen angel. She really did love the ability to hide her presence from almost anyone. It was in fact one of the best things she learned fr. Naruto, and who could blame her having the ability to virtually sneak up on everyone and out of a battle. The queen then looked at the unconscious fallen angel. What do you want me to do with this one? Bucho, she asked as another person also seemed to appear out of nowhere. Restrain her. Sensei did say that we should capture them if possible, the president replied as she slowly walked towards the door. Can you stand here and make sure no one escapes? Hi Bucho, replied a flushed yet smiling Akano. Rias just sweat dropped as she walked towards the abandoned chapel. Seriously, her friends saw. Distic tendencies were getting worse and worse with each battle they had, and she was sure the way the girl dealt with the two fallen angels brought her friend to a near orgasmic state, so it was really best to just leave her out here so she could cool down. Meanwhile, deep inside the church, Issei, Kaneko, and Kiba just finished dealing with Freed. The battle was quite one-sided, with the exorcist getting pummeled on all sides. Sadly, before they could kill him, the man threw a flash bomb and escaped. The three then went through a secret entrance that led to the basement of the church. As they sly ran, they encountered a few monks armed with holy weapons like Freed. Kiba and Kaneko told Issei to go on as they dealt with the others. Issei reluctantly agreed as he ran on, leaving behind his comrades. He eventually reached a large door at the end of a corridor. This is it, Issei said to himself as he summoned his sacred gear and punched the door open. His eyes narrowed as he saw the scene inside the room. It was a small chapel decorated as such, with Rainier standing in front of a naked Asia who was pinned on what looked like a cross, while a small orb containing 2 rings hovered in front of her sacred gear. Twilight healing, that can heal all wounds regardless of race, were slowly extracted from her body. He ran inside as Asia screamed out in pain as the orb was fully extracted from her body. He ran towards the girl, ignoring the fallen angel as her body fell from the cross. He channeled more and more energy into his legs as he caught Asia's body before it hit the ground. He didn't care that she was naked, it wasn't the time for that, he was more worried about the girl. She was looking pale and her breathing was extremely labored. Asia, Issei called out as he held her body in his arms. Issei, the girl replied weakly. Hold on, it's going to be all right, Issei said as he completely ignored the fallen angel who was doing a monologue. He wasn't listening. He didn't give a damn. He was more concerned for the girl who looked like she was dying in front of him. Even if it was just for a short while, the nun said weakly as it got harder and harder to talk. I really was happy that I became friends with you. Wait, what are you saying? The boy responded as he started to panic. Look, remember how much fun we had today. We're going to have even better times than that. Oh. Nay, so please. Just please, he pleaded with her, only for the girl to touch his hand. Hey, Issei-san, if I'm born again, will you please be my friend again? To get a sad yet beautiful smile in response from the girl. Don't, please don't, the young devil pleaded once more as tears began pouring out of his eyes. Don't, I'll introduce you to everyone, we'll have fun together, he stopped talking when she gently placed her hand over his mouth. I am glad you cried for me, I don't need anything else, the dying girl said as she smiled one last time. Thank you, Issei-kun, the girl said as tears fell from her eyes as well. They were getting heavy and it was getting harder and harder to breathe for her. She looked at Issei only to see a blurry image of the young boy. She could see that he was still crying for her, and that was enough for her, just knowing someone cared for her that much. With that, Asia Argento closed her eyes and peacefully passed away. Why does AG IRL like her have to die like this? Issei cried out as he cursed and begged the heavens to spare her life. She just wanted friends. This isn't fair. So she died. Good for her, at least she won't see me kill you, Renair said in a tone full of condescension. Not like Issei was listening to her. No, the boy just silently took Asia's body and placed it on one of the nearby chapel benches before he too ran around and glared at the fallen angel. The girl started ranting once more only for her words to fall in deaf ears. Give Asia back, he whispered as a wave of emotions filled the young devil. Give her back, he screamed out as a bright light surrounded his left hand courtesy of his sacred gear. Dragon Booster, the young devil screamed out as he ran at the fallen angel and tried to slug her in the face only for Renair to move to the side and trip him. Boost, Issei said once more as he stood up and once again tried to attack the fallen angel. The angel responded by jumping, wings open. As she flew and threw a spear of light that impaled the young devil in his leg. Issei growled as he grabbed the spear of light and pulled it out of his leg as he ignored the pain. He felt like lurching over and vomiting as the light slowly drained him of his power, but he didn't. He couldn't falter. Not now, Boost. Issei screamed out, blood already pouring out of his mouth as the holy light painfully corroded his body. Sorry Asia about this, but I have to be a bit loud, Issei muttered as he glared at Renair. Explosion, he screamed out as all the energy he boosted earlier was suddenly released. Renair's eyes widened as she felt the teen's power increase. Why don't you just die? The fallen angel screamed back as she threw another spear of light at the boy. Issei gritted his teeth as he knocked the spear away with his sacred gear before he channeled all of his energy into his legs. I have to reach her, he thought as he started running towards the fallen angel. I have to catch her, he thought as he jumped and grabbed the girl's left arm. I have to punch her, he thought as he bent his elbow back and poured all of his strength into his left hand. Fly away you shitty angel. I screamed out as he punched the fallen angel in the face with enough force that it sent her through several walls. The boy panted, as he fell on the ground. He was tired and in pain, but he didn't care about it. Issei turned around and walked towards Asia. He knelt down as he hugged her body. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. Issei stared at her body with guilt until he felt a hand on his back. Go. OD job defeating the fallen angel, he heard as he turned his head around and saw Kiba. You're a bit too late, Issei replied as he rubbed his eyes. I was told not to interfere. Huh, well I believe you could beat her on your own, and it looks like I was right, Rias proclaimed as she slowly walked into the room. The girl went over to Issei and patted him on the head. Good job my servant, she added as she praised her pawn. Now then, the girl shifted her gaze from Issei to the still unconscious fallen angel that was being dragged by Kaneko. As much as I'd love for us to just kill her sensei. Wants her captured, so Kaneko-chan, would you kindly bring her out of the church? Sensei sent someone to pick them up. The white-haired girl nodded as she placed the fallen angel's body on her shoulders and left the room. Issei looked at the first girl who confessed to him, the first girl who asked him out, the first girl to kill him. Goodbye, Issei whispered mostly to himself as he cut off all connections with the fallen angel. From atop the church, Naruto was sitting on the roof and closed his eye. He watched the entire battle unfold and he was impressed. They all did a good job, especially Issei. But I never expected your power to be Drake's boosted gear, one of the Longinus which can be used to kill a god. He snickered. I guess like me long ago you also contained something within you that holds great power. I hope this serves as a good lesson to you, Issei, the man said as he slowly opened his eye. The path ahead is tough, but with your friends by your side I hope you can succeed. He chuckled as he remembered the scene of a young boy with his friends and their mission in the Land of Waves. Naruto stood up as he saw the members of the Occult Research Club leaving the building. Yo, you always were too nice, he said to himself as he saw Issei assisting a now alive Asia out of the church as he predicted Rias did use her last bishop piece to revive the girl. He looked down on the grow up as he thought about jumping down and introducing himself to Issei, but after seeing the smile on the boy's face he decided against it. He'd let the boy have his moment with the nun. He deserved at least that much. Naruto turned around as he suddenly disappeared in a flash of red light. Naruto reappeared inside an extremely luxurious and fancy-looking room. He looked around in disgust as he saw young girls. Maidens and nuns all over the place. Their eyes were shallow and lifeless. They were battered. They were broken. Broken beyond repair. Naruto growled out this was the fate that awaited Asi. If not for the Occult Research Club's intervention. He was sure the moment the fallen angels extracted her sacred gear and left, this man would have no doubt come in and forcefully turned the girl into a member of his peerage. Bastard! Naruto thought as he slowly made his way to the single door inside the room. He kicked the door open and couldn't help but smile at what he saw. In the middle of the room stood Mia, and Altria beside them, tied, badly beaten, and naked, was a young man, or what closely resembled a young man. Naruto couldn't really tell. The boy right in front of him now could be described as a lump of badly beaten flesh. The man's blonde hair was soaked with his own blood as he let out another painful grunt. The man's once handsome face was now gone, the bones of his face air cracked so bad that no one could recognize him anymore. Naruto walked towards them. Good job, girls. Now would you mind leaving me alone with him for a few seconds? I really need to talk to our little friend here. The two knights nodded. They knew the blonde was pissed and they'd rather not see what he was about to do. Naruto reached for his pockets and pulled out a small bottle, Phoenix Tears. From the Phoenix family it is said this can heal any injuries. Let's see how effective it is. He grabbed the bottle and forced it down the man's throat. The man began coughing out as he choked on the fluid. His wounds were slowly healing, but before they even finished he heard a loud snap. The man looked at his arms and saw that it was twisted in an extremely unnatural way. Be happy, Diodora Astaroth. Naruto said in a spine-numbingly scary tone. I promised your brother Ajuka that I won't kill you, but aside from that, he told me I could punish you how I see fit. He smiled as he snapped another one of the man's arms. The current heir to the Astaroth's eyes narrowed as glared at the man. If he even makes it out of this alive, he will make this man pay, and he knew just who to ask for help. Chaos Brigade, he thought before screaming out in pain. The end. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.